Welcome to the Sons of Mjolnir podcast.
The Sons of... what?
This isn't your Sons of Macaroni, yeah!
The Sons of Mjolnir?
This is Sons of Mjolnir, yeah!
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sons of Mjolnir. As always, I am one of your hosts, Fat Thor, and today I am joined by a very, very special guest. You may know him from such shows as The Middle, Abbot Elementary, Funny or Die's Take It Outside, also Princess Leia on Jimmy Kimmel a couple times. But you probably most notably know him for being one of the hosts of new Rockstars, The Breakroom, the most recent Guardians of the Palaxy, and also Have a Drink with Me. I am joined by the wonderful Tommy Bechtold. Thank you so much for being here. I cannot be more excited to have you on here, my friend.
I gotta say, that is the best podcast intro I've ever had. So,
thank you so much. Well, you're a man of many hats. You got a lot of stuff going on, man.
I got a big head, you know. I can't.
Hey,
I got.
Big Head Gang is in the building, man.
That's
We're in
right.
the building.
I got to wear a lot of hats to cover my giant head. So,
well, I'm right there with you, man. That's exactly why I don't wear hats, because of this big ass cranium.
Yeah.
But before we talk about all the, like I said, you're a man of many hats and you do a lot of different stuff. But before we get into some of that stuff, I want to quickly go over what we usually do here on the show is kind of a comic book origin story sort of thing. And you obviously talk a lot about nerd stuff online, both like I just mentioned on New Rockstars, Breakroom, Guardian of the Palaxy. And I know your true love is Star Wars. So I'm curious, not only with your comic origin, but what's kind of like the how did you get into all this kind of geek stuff, that kind of origin? I know that you've said that you actually have the first copy of What If that I thought was a really great find. So I know that you're into comics a little bit. So like I said, what's that kind of origin story?
Well, my love for Star Wars started when I was very, very young. I have both my mom and dad are one of 7 children. So I have, and everybody has kids. So I have like 50 cousins, and I have a lot of cousins my same age or a couple years older. And on my mom's side, her sister Monica, I was very, very close with my Aunt Monica all the way up until she passed away a few years ago from cancer. But our entire life, I spent most of my weekends at my Aunt Monica's house because she had 3 sons, Nick, Nate, and Zach. Nick, Nate, and Zach were all a couple years older than me, so obviously I got hand-me-down everything from them. And one of the hand-me-down things I got from them were their broken Star Wars toys. So I got like kind of 3/4 intact stormtroopers, a Chewie missing an arm, kind of well played with, well-loved Star Wars toys. And my Aunt Monica showed me Star Wars. She showed me the movie. I'd go over there, I'd watch movies. We'd get Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was a fat boy's dream. It was
beautiful.
So Star Wars was the jumping off point. By the time I was born, the year Return of the Jedi came out. I was born in 1983. So I probably saw Star Wars for the first time in like 1989 or something like that. So it was well out on VHS by that point, but not yet special edition. So it was the pure for the people that demand stuff. I'm fine. I say, George, tinker with your baby as much as you want. You want to keep improving your car, put new spoilers on it. That's fine. But that kind of got me obsessed with Star Wars. I thought the toys were awesome. Then I got old enough to ask for toys myself, and it was funny. My mom and dad were like really strict. They did not let me have GI Joes because GI Joes had guns. But somehow blasters and lightsabers did not qualify as guns. So
say it's not actual bullets. So
that's right. Right. So long-winded tale there, but I think important. The Pike boys, Monica Pike, my aunt, and Zach, Nate, Nick, and my uncle Greg, they kind of formed my nerd brain at a very early age. And both my parents were like not super nerdy, but they love film and television. Both my parents are like fans of like all genres. They're not hyper focused on anything. My mom loves Star Trek, so she got me into Star Trek at a young age. But that was really it. So I would say all credit to the Pikes.
Shout out the Pikes, and I'm
Shout
glad that
out
they
Pikes.
did. Yeah, shout
Yes.
out the Pikes. And I'm glad that they did, because like I said, now you're doing all this great stuff. And I'm sure that even just that early exposure to
Oh,
not just the world of Star Wars, but like the storytelling of it
yes.
definitely influenced you with,
Yeah.
going into comedy and then doing all this other stuff.
I think, it's something not a lot of kids, I think, make it to actually hear the line, Luke, I am your father, and not know ahead
Yeah,
of time.
very true.
So to have the unspoiled reveal that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father is a truly, truly incredible experience. And I hope someday, if I have children, I can keep them in the dark about it until they watch. So
Oh yeah,
anyway.
I'm sheltering them for sure. So
Yeah.
that's not revealed for them. I was born in '95, so
Okay.
I think I'm like one of the last generations that like probably, like you said, it wasn't spoiled for me because like
Yeah.
there wasn't internet and all that.
Yeah.
That's like one of like the quintessential moments in a young nerd's life.
Oh
like
my
finding
God,
that
yes.
out.
Absolutely. It's like I feel like we all go through the Luke's emotions.
Yeah.
Because we're like, no, not this guy.
Like, what?
I've just spent like 2.5 hours of movie through a film and a half of like hating this guy.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, wait, what? Where is this all leading to? Then your little kid brain formulates like, oh my God, is he going to make Luke bad, or is Luke going to make him good? What's going to happen here?
Yep.
And that's by design.
Yep, that's how it gets you. That's how you get the bug. And like I feel like I was so young that like I didn't even really grab the gravity of it until like later, and then I rewatched it. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, holy shit.
Exactly. I love it.
But I want to talk about too, speaking of comedy and all this. So you're the first comedian and or actor that we've ever had on the show. So I gotta pick your brain a little bit about that aspect of your career and all that. And so you've talked about, so you said when you were younger that you were kind of very shy, and it was kind of something in the back of your mind, but you never really kind of got yourself there to do it, which is something that I very, very much relate to. And then you answered a Craigslist ad, you started doing sketch comedy, and like the bug bit you. So I'm curious, when the bug bit you, you've talked about some of your influences being Will Ferrell, Conan O'Brien, and specifically about them, the fact how they can, how you say, like just turn it on at any moment, like they're always on.
Yeah.
So when you started out and you kind of caught this bug, I'm curious, what was the process like trying to acquire that? Because I think that you do a really great job with that. Just on New Rockstars and all that, you're very quick off the cuff, and obviously that's a very important skill to have with improv. So like I said, what was the process of like starting to develop that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was interesting because I think, to go back to the beginning, the shyness that I had was like a shyness out of discomfort. So when I knew people, that's when I would be funny. Like when I was comfortable around family. I mean, for my family to hear me describe myself as shy, they'd just roll their eyes. But but my parents know, because they would go to parent teacher conferences and the teachers would be like, Tom doesn't really talk, or he's like, he's very shy. And I think with that, it taught me to listen. And I wanted to know. I was always so afraid I was so anxious about how people felt about me, which is not necessarily healthy, but every kid goes through it. So I would listen and listen and think of ways to like ingratiate myself to people, or have them be like, oh, like he's funny. And I think that translates as an adult in improv, active listening. It's just the key to everything. It's not necessarily that I have some like giant index of funny things to say. It's just that I'm interested in what people say, and I listen to what they say, and rather than something that I had maybe in my younger years, which would be wait for my turn to be funny rather than listen to people, I'm processing what they say and seeing if there's something I can add to it. It's the tenet of yes and in improv, not yes, not agreement or nodding your head and then a new subject. It's agreement and building off of. So one of the things I think that Conan O'Brien does, which is why he's always been a hero of mine, is like he can sit in silence and let the other person talk for 2 minutes without him being feeling like, oh, I haven't gotten my share of the oxygen in the room. And then he'll respond to what they said with something so brilliant and so funny. And that's just something that I aspire to do. You know, when you're a big guy, people want you to be Farley or they want you to be Belushi. And I get that. And trust me, Chris Farley is not necessarily like a comedy hero of mine, but he's someone on a pedestal. I have on a pedestal in terms of how funny they are. You know, the way he's not someone that I want to be like. I mean, well, lifestyle wise, clearly, but I mean, as a performer, I don't want to be an out of control man child that people are like, oh, it's funny because he's throwing himself around. However, have I spent 1,000 hours of my life laughing so hard it hurts at that? Yes. And same with Belushi. So it's like, you know, I think part of, you know, some stubbornness that I have is that I will try hard to make it more about, yes, certainly I can have manic energy, but I want what I'm saying to be funny, not just funny because of how I'm saying it. I guess, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, 100%. Like, I mean, and that just goes to, you know, the maniacal riz that you got. Like you said, but in all seriousness, though, I think that's 100% a great point. And like you said, no disrespect to Farley. I'm a big guy. I'm from Chicago. I love Farley. But like you said, I think there's something important to say about what's being said being actually funny as opposed to just the way you're saying it being funny, which there's room for both.
And I think he even more so, I mean, I think Belushi was all energy, right? Like Belushi's like, you know, the way he's chopping a sub sandwich with a samurai sword, or Blues Brothers, he's dancing around and like flailing around and like, you know, any of his other Bluto from Animal House. I think Farley actually did say very, very funny things with, you know, even just the face, even like the way he would end a sentence and look at you and be like, whatever. You're like, how could you not laugh at that? I guess I just, you know, it's like, again, it's like almost a point of belligerency for me. It's like, because I had a belly in high school, people were like, you're Chris Farley. And I'm like, all right,
I got the same thing. Yeah.
right.
Seth Rogen, Chris Farley, like 100%.
Absolutely. So, you know, and again, I mean, listen, people have called, when I shave, people call me John Candy because I have red cheeks and I have a big face. And I think I guess some people think I sound like him too. So that's like, you know, a high praise. I love John Candy. I would say, if anything, that is what I'm going for. John Candy's performances and, you know, what he was able to do comedically and what he was able to do in dramatic moments of the comedies that he did. Like those, I think that's more the North Star that I'm shooting for. I realize I've talked a circle around the original question. But
you're good.
I just I love talking about the process of this stuff. Is so interesting to me because, you know, I love improv and I love, you know, doing those live stream shows like the Breakroom or Palaxy's, you know, live to tape. You know, we tape it live, and then our wonderful editor Alexa, she then makes a masterful final product. But
shout out Alexa.
Yes, she's the best. I gotta say, best in the biz. But I think it's all about listening and connecting, and I can tell when I'm with Whitney or when I'm with MT or any of the people that Brandon and Zach. You know, Brandon, Zach, and Eric and I all did improv for years before we did anything. I mean, Eric and those two were working at New Rockstars long before I was there, but we knew each other. I mean, Zach and Brandon are two of my oldest friends in LA. I met them the first year that I lived here. These are all New Rockstars people for anyone listening, just so I know I'm kind of just saying names of people that.
Oh, no, you're good.
But, you know, I can tell by the looks on their faces, in good times and bad. I can tell when I'm just steamrolling and taking all the oxygen. It's no better barometers than those guys. But I can also tell, especially with like Whitney, I can tell when we're connecting, even through like this, even through a Zoom or Riverside or Zencaster or whatever. I can tell by the look on a person's face, like, okay, they feel like they're being heard by me and we're on a roll right now. And that's the drug for me. That is my drug of choice, is like getting on a roll with somebody comedically. And there's just no better feeling. That's a feeling I'll chase through live performance and live stream. I hope I get to do it as long as I live. I never want to stop that.
Yeah, just like that creative energy that kind of exists in
Yes.
the room. I totally understand what
Yeah.
you're saying. And especially with you and Whitney, I mean, that's why you guys got the best friend necklaces.
Yes,
It's just that
absolutely.
there's just, you know, there's certain people though
Yeah.
that you have
Yeah.
that just kind of creative energy
Oh,
with,
yeah.
and like you can almost predict where they're going to go, what they're going to
Yes.
say. And
Yeah.
I think that's super important to have in a creative relationship, no matter what you're
Absolutely.
doing. But you touched on this perfectly. This was something I was actually going to bring up with the John Candy reference. You've said how you admire how there's layers to his performance, and that it's like we were just talking about. It's not just the way he's saying funny things; it's the layers and how he's saying it. And I just really love that kind of outlook on comedy. And I think especially in the day and age that we're in right now, where it's like, oh, you can't tell jokes anymore. Like, I just think that's a very refreshing kind of outlook on how to look at telling jokes and all that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want to get into new Rockstar stuff, and you led into it perfectly. But I do want to ask you. You just said you love talking about this stuff, and I love hearing about it. So I want to ask you just again really quickly. So with the improv, you also do stand up as well, right? Didn't you just do a stand up show?
I did. Yeah, I did a stand up show. I mean, I used to do stand up 3 nights a week. You know, kind of when I was starting out. Now I think it's a little more presentational for me. I like to do stand up to like practice for something.
Yeah.
If I'm going to host an event, or if I'm going to present an award or something like that, I like to do some stand-up gigs to kind of warm up,
shake
just
cobwebs off.
Yeah, get used to being alone on stage, because the wonderful thing about improv or sketch is that you're never really alone on stage, and the horrifying and either gratifying or soul-sucking experience of stand-up is you are alone on stage. So live or die, man, as Ralph Macchio says in Karate Kid.
Well, I want to ask the question on top of that I'm interested in is, so we've had a decent amount of comic book writers on here, and talk about their writing process and whatnot. So with like a stand-up routine, and even not even maybe a whole routine, but even just like a bit, what does the writing process for something like that look like, as opposed to improv, which obviously, it says it in the name, is improvisation?
Yes, I would say for me, it's a process of self-sabotage and learning not to burn myself on the same pan 3 times. I will learn a lot about what is funny through conversation. I'll have a conversation with a friend where I'm not necessarily trying to be funny, but I'm sharing an idea or a thought, and they'll laugh, and it'll be a genuine laugh. And I'll, or like the idea or the point of view that I have has caught them by surprise. Now, what I should do in that moment as a comedian is write what I said down verbatim, or as close to verbatim as possible. What I do, because I was raised by 2 guilt-ridden Irish Catholic parents, is I do not want to interrupt the conversation. So I continue the entire conversation, and then 2 hours later, something in my head goes, ding. Oh, remember that funny thing that you had an idea that could be a stand-up joke? And then I end up with my phone. If you're listening, I'm pulling my phone out because I'm going to just prove this in real time. I end up putting something in my notes app that may or may not be what I had originally said. So for instance, let's see what I have here. Okay, well, one, I just have the word power bomb. What does power bomb mean? That was probably someone. Oh, and then I had a thought the other day of like how the phrase "never judge someone on their worst day" is bullshit. There are plenty of people whose worst day defines them. Like, I don't think like Hitler's worst day is probably a good, whatever. I mean, like anyway, these ideas were at one point pretty fleshed out. And now
now it's like the remnants of the fleshed out idea.
I've got MODOK big head. What does that mean? What was that head?
That could be a million different things.
Yeah. School assembly puppet shows are condescending. I don't know. Like, this is what I'm saying.
There's gold in there, man. Yeah. There's gold.
Well, they'd always make you like coax the puppet out of hiding. They'd be like, "We have a friend here, but he's a little shy. Can you guys say hello, hello, Charlie?" And I'm like, "Charlie's a fucking puppet.
Yeah,
he does not need to. He does not need
He's a performer. Shouldn't he be used to this shit?
I mean, he's on the poster. He should know to get out. Anyway, I digress. But I think, as you can see, these ideas are like halfway funny or 25%, and I wish I was better about doing it, but sometimes I am, and those are what usually end up making it into a stand-up set, or at least getting workshop. And the people I know that I really admire as stand-ups, whether or not they're similar comedic sensibility to me, or they're totally different, but I find hilarious, they're always writing. It's just everything is written down, notebooks and notebooks and notebooks full of jokes. And I will say, this is maybe romanticized view of it. A lot of the best joke writers I know are pen and paper. They don't even wait for the notes app. They got a booklet on them somewhere, and they're writing down,
ready to go.
Yeah, like a reporter. Like a reporter always has their little reporter notebook, and they're writing down in their shorthand. So, yeah, I'd say when I'm at my best and when I'm proudest of my work ethic, it's when I'm writing down the jokes in real time to start to try to figure them out. Then I'll usually just type it out in like a Word document, say it over and over again. One of my biggest, not pet peeves, because I gotta say, I'm not really a big pet peeve person, and that's probably something that needs to be worked out in therapy. There's probably like a tumor with a bunch of pet peeves on my
building and building.
Because I'm pretty much like live and let live. But one thing that I do always roll my eyes at is when my friends who are stand-ups start doing their routines in conversation. Like where they'll like, we'll be sitting down at dinner and they're like, well, the other day I got my car towed, and you're like, okay, and then it turns into a joke.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, are you doing your stand-up routine right now? And so I think I consciously am so afraid of doing that a lot of times I will sabotage a good idea over workshopping it with a group of friends at House of Pies in LA.
What's the deal with this pepper, right?
Who came here from the furthest away? It's like, well, we all live in LA. We're meeting at a diner. So anyway, anyhow, yeah, I guess the idea is to you gotta go to open mics, which suck. Everybody knows open mics are the worst, but a necessary thing. The biggest thing for open mics for me is like, when I played football, I didn't go to the gym to like get better at football. I went to the gym to get stronger so that I could get better at football. Yeah. You go to an open mic not to necessarily get better at performing for an audience. You get better at talking into a microphone. And then when you perform in front of an audience, like, oh, this guy or girl or whoever stands still. Stillness is a huge thing, I think, when you're delivering. I mean, your gesturing is fine, but in auditioning and in stand-up, a lot swaying and moving around is a big sign of nerves. It's a big indicator to casting directors and people who are just good at reading body language that like you're uncomfortable. And I'm generally an uncomfortable person. So
that would be me. I'm a swayer. I like cannot. It's like the ADD in me, but like I cannot sit still. So like I'm swaying. I'm rocking all the time. So these people would be like, man, this guy is just a nervous wreck.
Well, I do think that a lot of your Sebastian Maniscalcos and people like that, I think the gesturing and the like walking around is a thing they probably learned early on in their careers, and so that would keep them from being all bouncy.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, and that, like I said, same thing with me too. I'm a big hand talker as well. I think it's just like you said, like I don't know what to do with these meat puppets. Like, what the hell do you do with your hands? Like,
I'm covering 80% of the Zoom screen right now.
It's like sit here like this the whole time, like fucking Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns, oh my God. But speaking of that, I have to give an exciting update to any new Rockstars fans. Karen Gillan is going to be on Simpsons. I think we're one step closer to my dream and Palm Clementive's dream of getting her on The Simpsons. We have a Guardian on there.
Yes.
The door is now open.
It's open, and they did that Marvel like crossover a little while ago too. So hey, Palm, I know you just interviewed her not too long ago, so come on now.
Let's get her involved. Come on, she's ready.
But that leads us perfectly.
I had to sidetrack because I saw a tweet and I was like, oh my God, it could happen.
Yes, please sidetrack all you want, my friend. We're here for you. But that leads us perfectly, though, into new rock stars. I do want to talk about that very quickly. Obviously, that's where a lot of people know you from. That's where I discovered you from. And you talked about you and Eric and Brandon and Zach all did improv together. So I'm assuming that's how that kind of all got started. But I'm curious. So
Yep.
obviously you kind of started on New Rockstars. Now you got Guardians of the
Yep.
Palaxy, the Breakroom, Have a Drink with Me. So like when all this started, like when Eric and them came to you with the New Rockstar stuff, did you envision yourself being like an online person like that when this all started? Or was it like, oh yeah, I'll come talk about some nerd stuff? Like how did that all like kind of snowball all together?
You know, it kind of happened. Snowball is a great metaphor for a great symbolism, because Philip Molina, who was ran New Rockstars for many years and is also a good friend of mine. He had contacted me to come in, and I think we were calling it New Rockstars News at that point, and it was basically a prototype for what would become all the different shows, Big Question, Rogue Theory, and then ultimately the Breakroom. And I would, it'd be Maude Garrett and myself and Sam Basher and Philip and Eric, and it was kind of just a thing. Like I came in and would do it. It wasn't anything I thought about as I liked doing it. But if anyone watched those, it was very, very different. It was like the most extreme Breakroom episodes. That was where my energy was. I was at like an 11 for every single thing. And it was almost playing the role of a disruptor in the show. So it would be like thoughtful point from Eric, thoughtful point from Maude. I'll say something crazy. They'll yes and, because they're funny improvisers, get back on track. And I got, mixed feedback from both my friends and from the World Wide Web. So I thought, oh, I like this. I like what I'm doing, but I know I haven't quite got the equation to podcasting and live streaming yet. So it took some time with Philip and some kind of really Philip's willingness to be very frank and open and clear with notes, with regard for my feelings as my friend, but also to tell me like, hey, you can't be a permanent fixture on this channel if your job is to, like, you can come in and be funny for us probably once a month like that. That's probably what our audience has a threshold for. And in my mind, I'm like, he's right. And that's not all that I want to do anyway. I want to be able to share my thoughts and opinions. A lot of it is maybe a little bit of feeling of imposter syndrome, because I didn't read a ton of comics as a kid. I was like a really nerdy. I loved reading like sagas of books that had, a comic. Ironically, now I love reading comics and especially trade paperbacks that go volumes and volumes and volumes, because I love something that takes a long time to get through. Yeah. And what's longer than like a 50-year running comic? But I felt some imposter syndrome early on, and Philip kind of really worked with me to channel the voice of like someone who's unpredictable but is also serious about the job. So, I think a lot of the times when we go to conventions and stuff, one of the funny things is people who just know me from the Breakroom think I'm like a lunatic. And that's very fair, because the way that I behave on that show is crazy. But that's not how I really am in real life. That's not how I am in real life. In real life, I think people would maybe still describe me as crazy, but I'm not like, saying a lot of the things that I say on the Breakroom are said not as my actual opinion, but kind of making fun of someone who has that opinion. That like not to compare to Stephen Colbert when he had the Colbert Report, but like as a tribute to that, like I'm often sharing the voice of what I consider the worst of fandom. And like playing it up. Exactly. So I think I'm sorry, I'm giving the long answer, because I think it's important to kind of explain that really Philip is the one who helped me get to a place where I did think I could do this. I could be like an online personality talking about all the stuff that I love and am a fan of, and not feel like a phony, and feel like I can contribute ideas and not just be maniacally crazy and just shouting disruptive statements to just try and make things funnier. He emboldened me, and then everyone else at New Rockstars, and now even more so with Whitney and MT, they emboldened me further to share more points. And I think with Palaxy, Guardians of the Palaxy, I really feel safe with Whitney and MT, especially MT is so brilliant, and he's also
the master.
He's so empathetic and he's so welcoming. It's like he will sit there and listen to me say something so off, such a theory of like. I remember one time for Rogue Theory, they were like, just please do a bad theory so we could not they're like, we have two good theories. Do one that's like off the wall so we can have like a
crazy.
And I was like, Batman is going to be in Multiverse of Madness.
I think I remember that actually.
Because people hated me so much, and I was like, I made this up because I was like wrestling. They were like, be the heel, and poor MT had to straight face give a thoughtful response to that, and he did. And I already loved MT anyway, but from that moment on, I was like, that guy's a true ride or die. Like he'll sit there and give you like a little. He had to point out that it was bonkers for his own credibility.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure
I just
cooked with it too. Honestly, I'm sure whatever he came up with was fucking good.
Yes! it's the best. He's the GOAT. But I think it's still an evolving journey. I'm headed to New York for a few months, at least for a project that I'm actually a couple of things I'm excited to do that aren't really in the comic book space. I'm actually helping make some some industrial films for a couple of businesses, but it's like it's going to allow me the freedom to do Palaxy and have a drink with me, and with that I want to experiment with some more live streams and say the forbidden word for my nerd friends, sports. And
hey, we like sports over here too, baby. I know you're a Bills fan. I'm a Bears fan, so I think we can connect a lot on our fandom in sports.
We sure can. So yeah, I think I never would have imagined, especially being here so many years as an actor and a comedian and a writer, I never would have thought, I'll be a YouTuber. And then it happened. And now I'm continuing to try to be a better YouTuber and a better host and a better presenter and a better personality. You just get better at the whole thing, because I think it helps with everything. I've gotten acting opportunities now because of New Rockstars, right? Like, people know me from New Rockstars, and they trust me to try things for them, whether it's acting in a sketch or acting in a film or a short film. And I've gotten writing opportunities. So, the whole thing, I think it's that perfect intersection of luck and preparedness that I had in that moment. And I appreciate, I had a patient master in Philip that was like, he will be my Mr. Miyagi in the YouTube space. But, it required him to be very honest with me, and it required me to be able to take notes and listen and not be too proud and say he doesn't know what he's talking about. So long answer, but basically I could give credit to my friends. They've made me they've made me a YouTuber, and whether for better or for worse, credit and blame to my friends.
Yeah, well, that's just so awesome to hear, and I really love that story. And you please go on as long as you want, because like I said, I love hearing about it, and I just think that's something, at least for me, I personally very much relate to. Before doing this podcast and all this stuff, I was like, what do you mean I'm going to talk to people on the internet? Like, that was like terrifying to me. And I totally understand the feeling of imposter syndrome, even being a comic book nerd. It's like, oh, well, do I know as much as I really think I do? All that kind of stuff. So I think having someone like Philip, shout out to Philip, to be there for you and kind of, bring you through to that. I think that's so awesome. And like you said, something very important to put out there. And I think something that everyone can relate to, whether you're like us talking nerd stuff on the internet or even just like in your office job or whatever. I think we can all relate to that kind of feeling. But I could talk to you all day about new Rockstars and Guardians of the Palaxy. I love what you guys are doing over at the Palaxy. I know we just talked about it, but I just got to give another special shout out to MT and Whitney. I mean, you guys have just been so awesome. I love the new show. I've been a fan of you guys for a long time. So when all you guys got together and started this show, I was super excited. And again, just like setting up this interview.
You have been incredibly patient for the people listening. Just know I've bailed and postponed this like 3 times. So
we are all just having the Riz here at all is worth all the rescheduling.
Well, I so appreciate it. Also, I don't want to act like I'm winding up here. I'm happy to keep talking. I just wanted to say, yes, I need all the shout outs to MT and Whitney, and also Brett, Whitney's husband, who is our producer, and our amazing editor, Alexa, because right now it is a 5-person labor of love. It's a 5-person ship that we are trying to, we have people who are wonderful, advocates for the show, and I can't thank you enough for always amplifying, and it really means a lot to me. But it's like, and with that, it's why we, it's not New Rockstars, right? That's not the design of that. Like, New Rockstars is a different, good, wonderful nerd bastion to go to, and there's, those guys are my friends, and whether or not I am working for them in a full-time capacity or popping in, that's always going to be the case. But with Palaxy, it really is just 3 people who love each other and want to talk about this stuff. And I think that is a healthy contribution to the nerd space. And so I appreciate everyone listening, and I beg you to stay with us, because we may not have the robust fields of content right now with the strike and everything, but like, we're going to keep talking about stuff. And there's, we got What If, we got more animation stuff coming out. We're going to keep
the Palaxy train is going, my friend. It's going hot.
We're going, and it means a lot. Everyone who's listening and sharing, and even our unbelievably a few people that have reached out to sponsor. It just means the world. And hopefully with Patreon and stuff, we're going to get some better, more robust experiences for you. But I just really appreciate it. I'm sorry, this is just a tangent. What was the movie where we first met? What movie were we at in Burbank?
Guardians.
It was Guardians 3. Yeah. I was like, that was the first time that's the first time we met in person, right?
I was lucky enough to meet you, and I gotta tell
this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a long time. Actually, now that I'm thinking back on it, that was a while ago. Yeah. But I mean, again, I just can't thank you guys enough for being so welcoming and so kind and cool. Being someone who's looked up to you guys, like being able to meet you guys, and I mean, having you just talking with you today has been super awesome. But I know we're kind of on a time schedule here, so I want to make this last kind of bit quick. But I'm going to kind of mash this up into one question for the sake of time. On the last Palaxy episode, you guys were talking about your favorites from Phase 4, and like we were just talking about, you're a big Star Wars guy. I'm a big Star Wars guy too, and I think that there's a conversation to be had with both Marvel and Star Wars going on right now with people saying, oh, is the MCU dead? And you have like all these actors and directors kind of shit talking and some aspects, and I think we mainly see that with Marvel right now, but I think we see it with Star Wars as well, and kind of like, oh, where are things going? And I'm just curious, being an actor and being someone who, more or less has kind of seen how the sausage is made, if you will. I'm curious what your opinion on this kind of discourse is as it regards to, like I said, Marvel and Star Wars. Do you think, I mean, I know, again, this is just your personal opinion, not like any insider knowledge or anything like that, but just, again, from your experience with Hollywood, how these things work, do you think there is a real problem, or do you think it's more so clicks, trendy headlines get clicks, which gets paid, it's more so in that vein? Or do you think, like I said, in your opinion, there is some real problems to be had?
I think that's a very important question to ask. I have so many thoughts, so let me try to say them all kind of in bullet point order. There's a thing about entertainment industry and TV and movies and music that the people who work in it are like their own. It's a circular firing squad. You know, it's like everybody shooting each other. It's like there's a circular firing squad. I can't tell you when I moved out here like right as Twitter started, 2007. So like literally the birth of Twitter and the birth of me in LA was the same. Was two twin ogres being unleashed upon a city. But I don't get. I get criticism. Criticism is valid. Constructive criticism is uber valid. I don't understand punching down on things that aren't your cup of tea. I'm not a huge multicam sitcom fan. I'm not a giant. I mean, I love Cheers and Roseanne and shows like that as a kid. But like when I was older, I didn't sit down to watch 2.5 Men or Big Bang Theory or any of the Chuck Lorre shows. I don't think I've ever once openly criticized a Chuck Lorre or any other multicam sitcom show, because if one of those shows thought that I was good enough to be on it, I would go there and I would do the best job I could to make whatever that show was asking me to do be funny, deliver a line, make a face. I don't know. I think that to me is a worthwhile endeavor. It is not being artistically untrue to myself. I don't get why that same thing exists for superhero movies and sci-fi, where it's like you somehow have to like qualify that that this isn't like the real work. We're not doing the Arthur Miller play or the whatever. It's like, no, if you got to put on some fake elf ears and go be an elf in the woods, like that's fucking awesome. Yeah. Like there's no I don't understand the fatigue. I think the fatigue is bullshit. I think unfortunately right now, culturally, complaints get clicks. Shitting on gets clicks. Declaring something dead or in crisis gets clicks. People that I know and respect on the internet have turned into these like massive clickbaiting MCU's dead. And I think the difference is Marvel fans are younger. So it's a different type of hate. Star Wars fans are older, so their hatred comes in more flowery language and like almost parental disappointment. Like, this is not the Star Wars that I thought expected.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like dudes in their 50s and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s that are like complaining about droids and Wookiees. Like, what are we doing? And then
what are we doing here?
And then it's like just the idea that not every single piece of media is designed for every single person. Like, what kind of 100%. World? The same people that are complaining that like we're becoming a genderless, sexless society are the same people that want completely targeted media projects that are specific to their age. Like, it's like they want they can't have both things. Like, they can't like people like I'm getting off track, but it just it bothers me.
Dude, go. Yes, please.
It bothers me so much because I'm like, you can't censor other people because you think things are being too woke or censored, right? Like, it's like 100%. That's like the defense thing. It's like, I don't care if 2 characters in Star Wars are gay. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect my life at all. In fact, I like it. I think it's good. Yeah. I think. Listen, if we're doing a space western opera, soap opera, like, yeah, do I think that every character out in outer space in a galaxy far, far away is heterosexual and super hot and like real hot alien boys kissing real hot alien girls? Sure, fine. That's great for me. But I don't mind if a super hot alien boy kisses an ugly alien boy or an equally attractive. It's all just so dumb. It's not real.
We're talking about aliens here. Like, what are we, like you said, like, what are we even fucking talking about? And I love that take. I could echo you all day on that. And especially, both of us being 2 white dudes. It's like, we have And it's like, I'm so sick of it. And this is kind of a point that you brought up on the Palaxy.
Right. If we're sick of it,
yeah.
How do you think our friends who are not white guys?
Exactly. And it's like, we've had what are we on 30 something MCU movies?
Yeah.
And 28 of them are white dudes. So it's like I'm so sorry you had to.
I'm so sorry that you had to watch 3 superpowered women fight another superpowered woman in space for an hour and a half of your life, and that it didn't match up with your hopes and dreams. But and for all of you that the Marvels let down, I pray for you, and I want you to know you're in my thoughts and prayers. But I think dialing it back into Marvel and Star Wars specifically, criticize all you want. It's okay. I didn't like Secret Invasion. And after going to the junket, I had real concerns that the creative forces behind Secret Invasion did not know what the Secret Invasion comic was, and did not know what Marvel, didn't really care.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of coverage of Secret Invasion because that was my job. I looked for things that I liked. I talked about the things that I liked. I talked about the things that I didn't like. But you know what I haven't thought about in about 2.5, 3 months? Secret Invasion. I moved on. I've moved on.
Exactly.
I moved on with my life. I'm happy. I hope everyone that made the show is proud that they got something that made it to TV. Do you know how much the percentage of shows that are shot, sold, filmed, and never come out? The pilot episode gets done.
It'd be shocking, I'm sure.
It's like 90%. It's a huge amount. So bless them. They got it done. And you know what? If what you need to get through your day is to go on Twitter and say Disney is gasping for air after the massive failure of the Marvels, so that you can get 15 likes from 10 bots and 5 incels, go ahead. You're not hurting me. I need to learn to control myself and not go on Twitter. And look, I don't think it's healthy. I have caught myself in negative spirals before, so I empathize. And, for these Star Wars people, Star Wars has outgrown them. Star Wars has outlived their childlike imaginations. Star Wars is 50 years old now, or going on 50. The people who created Star Wars in the 70s are not children, do not have a childlike imagination or sense of wonder anymore. The fans that watched in the 70s may be losing that as well. Don't let that ruin it for a future generation of kids and young people that want to, go on that adventure, watch A New Hope, and then read the literal thousands of comics and novels, or play the video games, or watch the animated series, or watch now the Disney Plus shows. Don't ruin it for those people. Don't just enjoy the fact that you got a delicious Star Wars meal for a large chunk of your life, and not let other people eat the delicious Star Wars meal.
Yeah, and you got leftovers. Go rewatch Empire.
Go back.
Still exists. Like, it's not like they're erased.
Watch Luke kiss his sister, and then think to yourself, "This is how I like it."
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. I like when he kisses his sister. I'm mad she ended up with Han Solo.
Anyway. But I mean, again, I can't echo that sentiment enough. That's something we talk about a lot here on our podcast, especially as it pertains to Marvel. And it's just like, I think that's such a refreshing take to have. And like you said, especially for we do very similar things on the internet here, and I see it as well. Hate, like I said, unfortunately, hate gets paid these days, and it's so irritating and like it frustrating, especially for people like us that do try to genuinely just share a love and a passion. And like you said, I 100%, I'll even put it in my terms of stuff. Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, I know that's not a great movie. Like, I'm not an idiot, but there's stuff in there that I enjoy, and there's stuff in there that I think like anyone can enjoy. That doesn't mean you have to say that it's like winning Oscars and shit, but it's like, why am I gonna spend time being like Taika Waititi is the worst and like funny Thor bad? Like, bro, who cares? Move on. Watch something else.
Yeah, exactly. There's no shortage of things that could be making you happy. So it does feel, although regulating emotions for anybody is difficult. We have good, and everyone has a good day and a bad day. So I'd never say like choose happiness, because I think that's kind of bullshit. Happy. I just think if something isn't working for you anymore, if you find yourself at a point in your life where these oh my god, my computer's trying to make me do something. I'm telling you no. Where Marvel or whatever isn't working for you anymore, take a step away. You don't have to spend. I mean, if you're just a fan, if you're a fan of the stuff and it's bothering you, take a breath, take a step away, go try something else. And maybe with fresh eyes and like, a little bit of time passing, you'll grow to appreciate it again. Or maybe it has evolved beyond something that you're interested in, but that is no reason to be miserable. There are better days ahead for you, for most, I hope. I think it's something I work so hard on because I have this like weird, we all have a cynical voice in our head that is telling us we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or we're not worthy of lifting Mjolnir. But it's like when you work around that, you find the things that you like and you find the things that you're good at. It's just life is so much more fulfilling. And it really, even I think I care too much that people are negative because I'm like, no, I want you to be positive. It's like,
no,
that's
yeah,
not my
literally.
job.
Yeah.
My job is not to make people positive. My job is to try to be positive without being inauthentic and without being disingenuous. Because I don't want to sit here and like, listen, I get called a shill 50 times a week and I don't care. I've got a suit of armor. It doesn't bother me. And a lot of that is jealousy based. But I don't want to be a liar, but I do want to look for the silver linings of things. I don't want to dig down deeper into why something is quote unquote broken. So
yeah, I'd rather, like you said, I'd rather look at the positives of it. And like you said, we can acknowledge the bad without being like, this is just shit, or whatever, blah 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 blah. But again, I could not echo all those sentiments more. I feel 100% the same way. And I mean, I wish we could talk about this stuff all day long.
Well,
because I could, like you said,
have me back on.
Hey, the door's open, my friend. The door's always open.
I'm going to be freezing my ass off in New York throughout an entire brutal winter. So
hey,
God
bundle
knows,
up and get that computer booted up, and we'll let it rock, man.
I'm going to be an indoor kid. Let's check back in after the holidays. I'd love to come back on.
Please, I would love that. And before we get out of here, I want to shoot it off to you, my friend, really quickly. I know we've talked about all the stuff you got going on throughout this interview, but I want to give you a quick second to plug yourself, tell the people where they can find you. I will be putting all the links to all Tommy's shows and all the related things in the description. So go down there and click that. But Tommy, take it away, my friend.
Absolutely. So Guardians of the Palaxy, a weekly podcast from the minds of MT, Whitney, and Tommy B, with our producer Brett and our awesome editor Alexa. That's a weekly podcast episode. They're usually out Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how hungover Whitney and I are on Saturday. Sorry, Whitney, I threw you under the bus with me. And then Have a Drink with Me is what I will simply say, a work in progress with me and my brilliant friend Dylan Polniak. It's Dylan's baby that I have now joined him in a union to raise. We are raising Have a Drink with Me as co-parents. The goal is to be out every Thursday. With this move, and I got a horrible virus in November. We are just now getting back on track thanks to the saint-like patience of Dylan, who has chosen not to end his friendship and collaborative relationship with me. But we are back. We are having drinks.
Back, baby.
We would love to have the Sons of Mjolnir on at some point to have a drink with us.
Please.
By the way, if anyone out there doesn't drink alcohol, it's just the concept of having a drink. Get a lemonade, no problem. Yeah. There's going to be some weeks where I'm going to need to be drinking Diet Cokes.
Get an Arnold Palmy.
That's right. Yeah. Who doesn't love an Arnold Palmer? So yeah, have a drink with me. Guardians of the Palaxy. You can find me on all platforms at Tommy B. Reach out. I think my DMs are always open, so I may not get to them because I get distracted. But if you got a nerd question, ask me. I don't mind. I spend a lot of time on airplanes and on long drives, so the only thing I could do is read people's excellent theories on things. So please, by all means, reach out to your boy. Reach
out to your boy. Big Head Gang is in the building. Tommy, I cannot thank you enough, my friend, for being here and doing this. This was so much fun. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure, do it right now before you even end this episode. Go subscribe to Guardians of the Palaxy. Go subscribe to Have a Drink with Me. Both amazing shows. You can take my word for it. You will have an amazing time on both of them. Again, thank you so much for coming on with me. For all you guys out here, for all you guys out there, I think that might be all we have for you. I hope that you all stay hydrated. I hope your stacks are fat this week, and we will see you guys all next time.
I love it.
I can do this all day.